The Board of Managers presented overwhelming evidence that Ken Paxton is the most corrupt politician in the state of Texas at this time. And the Republicans in the Texas Senate just returned him to the office of top cop. God help us.
Strong and very true words from Representative Ann Johnson of Texas about the acquittal, full acquittal of Attorney General Ken Paxton on 16 charges he was facing, including bribery, abdication of duty, misapplication of public resources, obstruction of justice. The trial was a showcase of both sober testimony and occasional spectacle. This is a summary according to the AP. And accusing Paxton of abusing his office, former advisors recounted how Texas's top lawyer allegedly pressured them to help a political donor who was under FBI investigation. The testimony included arguments over who paid for home renovations, whether Paxton used burner phones, and how his alleged extramarital affair became a strain on the office. Just wild abuse of power. However, the impeachment managers didn't get more than 2 of the 9 Republican senator votes they needed to pass any individual impeachment charge. In other words, he evaded all 16 of them. He has a statement in which he has the audacity to thank his wife, which is real fun when you're using burner phones to call your mistress, but I digress. Just a couple of choice moments from this statement. He says, the sham impeachment coordinated by the Biden administration with liberal House Speaker Dade Phelan, who by the way is a Republican, and his kangaroo court has cost taxpayers millions of dollars, disrupted the work of the Office of Attorney General, and left a dark and permanent stain on the Texas House. I will next address the nation and Texas on Tucker Carlson next week. Now it is back to work on X, Tucker on X. So we're blaming Joe Biden and another Republican. Remember, this was one of the outlier instances where Republicans are actually trying to hold their own accountable. That's how you know how bad the corruption was. But Nina, your thoughts on this?
I mean, that clip that you showed said it all. We should all be outraged. I'm glad that the Republicans in that state decided to try to hold this man accountable. He is shameless. He knows that this was done by Republican leadership, the whole trial, everything about it. But yet, I guess he must have called up President Donald J. Trump and he said, if all else fails, blame Biden, because this is exactly what this dude did. In terms of abuse of office and the influence, selling influence, that is really what politics has come to, unfortunately, in the United States of America. There's always been a tinge of that, and I think the American people accept it to a certain degree, even though I don't think that we should. But the reality is, when you talk to people, Francesca, they say, oh, politics is dirty. So there's a little bit of, we're gonna accept a little dirt. I don't think we should accept any. But when it comes to this level of proof, really, Republicans, y'all let this dude just trollop right back on into the office without any consequence. Now, as for his extramarital affair, that's between him and his wife and his God, if he believes in one. That part doesn't move me as much as how he has really messed up the record. But he really has messed up on the job and done a disservice to the people of his state. And he should have some shame, but he has none. And so now he walking around like he the victim. You see how they do that? Now all of a sudden he's the victim. He's been put upon. Selling influence, getting things based on your office at the expense of the taxpayer. He is corrupt as the day is long. And hopefully the Republicans, Francesca, will find somebody to run against him the next election cycle. They should be working on that. I'm not sure if this is his last, but they should make sure he doesn't get to that office again.
I mean, it is just kind of incredible that he is calling Biden, making Biden responsible, and that ironically, Republicans federally are trying to impeach Biden over one 28th, one sliver of the crimes that Ken Paxton absolutely has been accused of. He himself, not Ken Paxton's son. Now imagine if this were Ken Paxton's son got a job on the board of some oil company and he was on the phone while he talked to and his son got money. Would that even be a story, people? Would that ever be a story? No, it wouldn't. And yet here we are with Hunter Biden. Ken Paxton has way more than that. In terms of trying to get an FBI inquiry dropped on a political donor. I mean, this is just, it's so dirty. And however, he may actually face some music, we'll see, because he still faces felony securities fraud charges that remain under a separate FBI investigation and is in jeopardy of losing his ability to practice law in Texas. He can still be elected because of his baseless attempts to overturn the 2020 election. So I guess there's some repercussions there. It also is important, let's jump down to graphic 6. It's important to know that they're coming for the Republicans who came for Ken Paxton, even though a lot of them understand that there was overwhelming evidence. So Speaker Dade Phelan and his leadership team, this is from the chair of the Republican Party in Texas, should be embarrassed for putting Texas through the time and expense of this political sham of an impeachment. We invite the House Republican caucus to choose leadership moving forward who will unify a Republican coalition behind our common goals instead of sharing power with Democrats. In other words, we want more of a loyalist. We want someone who will turn their cheek or their head when they see open corruption. We just want more people to respect the mob boss that we will all sort of live in fear of.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.